Welcome to No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I am your host, Rick Becker, and our co-host, Lori Hintz.
Thank you very much.
How is it possible we have another great show?
I know, right? We've got so much planned for you today.
They
This
just
is going to be a good show.
never end.
We have not spilled who our guest is yet either. I think it's the best kept secret on Beck.
Yeah, it is. So, are you going to say or no?
Yeah, we could say who.
Do it.
Okay. We have with us State Auditor Josh Gallion today, so we'll be talking to him shortly about all sorts of interesting things, so look forward to that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
First topic today is we are going to talk about a term of which people may not have heard before, and it is called nullification. And I think you're going to be able to set the table pretty well for people on this one. For those who have never heard the term or do not know what it is, what exactly, Rick, is nullification?
Right. So the idea of nullification is that when the states came together to form the Constitution, to create a federal system, they recognized that the federal system must follow the Constitution.
Right.
But in the event that laws were derived on a federal level that were not constitutional, that there would be a way for the states to, in effect, nullify them, to make them not so, not
veto them?
Not veto them within the confines of the state.
Got it.
That's exactly right. Thomas Jefferson was big on this. Some of the other founding fathers, the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions specifically include this. I think we have a graphic of that. The old Kentucky legislature back in, I think it was 1798.
To me, this seems like something whereby it is sovereign nation types or sovereign state issue, and you're talking about grassroots up or bottom up rather than top down. Am I wrong?
No, you're exactly right. Well, when we're talking about, when you say grassroots or bottom up, you're talking about the states versus the federal government.
Correct.
Yeah, in the Kentucky legislature, they spell it out pretty clear there. Whensoever the general government assumes undelegated powers, its acts are unauthoritative, void, and of no force. That's complete essence of nullification.
Perfect.
Now, there have been Supreme Court cases where nullification has been struck down. Now, as we think about nullification today, there are different ways to think about it. The Supreme Court has made it clear that when there's a federal law, there's the supremacy, federal supremacy.
Right.
And so anything that's federal, the states can't say, no, it's legal. But what they can do is nullify in a different way. We can say, for instance, yes, go ahead, it's federal law, but for our state, it's not against the law. That's one way, and that we see that with marijuana.
Sure.
Is the clearest example of that. I mean, look at what's been happening with marijuana. That is, in effect, nullification that's been taking place over years, and it has pushed the federal government into, which we talked about recently, the U.S. House passing in a bill for marijuana. And we'll see what happens in the Senate. But the point is that the states drove it by their version of nullification. Now, it was still illegal federally. If federal agents came in, if the Attorney General, say Jeff Sessions at the time, was anti-marijuana, if he had sent federal agents, federal troops, ATF in, people could be prosecuted and jailed for a federal crime, even though it was legal in the state.
Right.
That's one way of doing it. The other way is to say, no, we're not even saying that it's legal here. We understand the supremacy clause, but what we're going to do is say we disagree with it because we feel it's unconstitutional, and therefore it's at our very minimal requisite duty to at least say we're not going to have our people, our state law enforcement, our local law enforcement enforce the federal law that we disagree with.
Now, there are a wide variety of views on marijuana across the United States, like a ton of, like everybody has something different pretty much. I mean, there's a lot of variation amongst the states. There's no one federal marijuana law.
Right, exactly. Let's pull up a graphic. We've got a graphic of the United States. If you look, I mean, talk about effective nullification. I mean, marijuana
looks like a quilt.
is, yes, it's absolutely sweeping the nation, and I suspect that it's going to come into North Dakota as well with our surrounding states. I'm not sure if that map is even fully updated, but with South Dakota and Montana joining the bandwagon on recreational and Canada having it, and Minnesota being medical, I mean, it's just a matter of time. So now let's flip over to, we have another graphic, because another topic for nullification are what are called Second Amendment sanctuary states or sanctuary counties. Another term for it, which I actually like better, is a Second Amendment. What is it called? Well, it's Second Amendment preservation.
Preservation.
Right, because
sanctuary
sanctuary brings about the idea of the whole like Los
city
Angeles
things.
and
Yeah,
San
right.
Francisco immigrant sanctuaries. But you've got a lot of counties and some states in there that are saying, look, we are not going to enforce laws that are more restrictive on a federal level with regard to firearms than what we have in our state. And in other areas, in some states, they're saying, as long as all of the gun parts and the gun is made within our state and sold within our state, the federal government has no control over that whatsoever, and so we can ignore your federal laws based on the Interstate Commerce Clause as it's interpreted today.
That makes me just think that we just need manufacturers of guns in North Dakota.
In all 50 states. So in fact, it's interesting. In North Dakota, we had, in 2019, I put a bill in that would have made North Dakota a Second Amendment preservation state, where it would have said, look, we get it, federal government, you want to have potentially more restrictive laws. They're looking at doing a lot of new things, and with Joe Biden coming in and Kamala Harris, I expect there'll be more restrictive laws. The bill said, we recognize that, but we're not going to have our state police and our local police enforce the federal law. That's fine, you can still have it, but you're going to have to bring in your own people. And that makes sense to me.
Right. How well was it received?
It was marginal.
Mixed.
It didn't pass. It got mixed reviews. There were concerns with law enforcement. I find that law enforcement lobbyists and what I call brass, the administrative, they're very reluctant to change how they're doing things. Right. And there were some concerns about, well, if there are drugs involved, does that prohibit us from being involved with drugs just because guns are also involved? So there were some legitimate questions. I think it's reasonable to bring it back in 2021. I'm hoping someone does, perhaps I will. And there was also, I think it was 2013, a similar bill, which also didn't pass. But so we're looking at those types of things. But I think there's another aspect to nullification, which we normally, as we've just discussed, talked about with regard to states versus the federal government. There's another level of it, and we're seeing it play out with localities, municipalities, meaning primarily counties, but also city governments versus the state.
Wow, just local level.
Local, right. I mean, if you look at the sheriff in Mississippi refusing to enforce mask mandates and social gathering, some of the New York sheriffs,
California had one too.
California,
just
they
recently.
said there's no way we're going to enforce the social distancing and gathering when it comes to Thanksgiving. Utah, Arizona, a lot of these people are rising up. North Dakota is listed as one of the places where some of the sheriffs have said we're not going to enforce these types of things. In addition, just Monday night, New Salem City Commission voted to amend their contract with Morton County Sheriff's Department to not enforce Burgum's mandates when it comes to early bar closings and capacities. And, you know, kudos to them. I think that is absolutely amazing and an appropriate way to see nullification in effect. Nullification.
Now you've learned something new. Well, coming back, we will have our guest in studio, and we've got a lot of questions for Josh Gallion. So we'll be talking to him up next.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at CapitalCityRestaurantSupply.com.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering, it's the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. I am your host, Rick Becker, and we have a special guest tonight, Josh Gallion, North Dakota State Auditor. So happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
We're
Definitely
excited.
appreciate it.
So, what brings you here tonight?
Well, we
Okay.
invited him, Rick.
Oh, we did. So
Yeah,
let
that
me.
was
I'm gonna act like the host.
Lori told me I had to be here. And
Did
so
she?
yes.
Well, I was really excited to ask you about rewarding good behavior because
Yes.
I think that is a much better. You're a parent of young girls. You know what it's like to try to get somebody motivated to do something. Especially, I was a young girl, so I know how hard it is to motivate me. And so you realize that at some point you can punish or you can reward, and it's you know what they say, a lot more. What is it? Flies with honey rather than vinegar. So I think that's a great thing that the auditor's office is doing.
Well, I appreciate it, and yes, we're trying to reward or recognize the behavior that we want to see in others. And so we took on this award, and we wanted to present this to Devil's Lake. One of our audit managers, again, any process, it takes great people to get this done. And one of our audit managers, Heath Erickson, he's been in our office now for many, many years, but he's been working with the city of Devil's Lake for, I think, nearly 10 years. They've been our client, and trying to help educate them, support them. From the city side, though, it takes a willingness and an interest in learning how to prepare the schedules, the financial statements, these notes, and it takes a level of expertise and knowledge to do so. And Heath has been working with Devil's Lake City Auditor for all of this time, and not only did she get to the point where she could produce all of these reports and do this, but to get through one of Heath's audits with a clean audit, that is a tremendous feat. And so we thought, let's recognize that, a major accomplishment. And so it was a lot of fun. It's great from the auditor's standpoint where we get to deliver good news, because normally if you're going to hear from us, sometimes it's less than positive. But again, I believe that the auditor's office's role is transparency,
and
informing the citizens.
I want to compliment you on the transparency, because I don't remember previously, before you held this office, getting as much communication. I'm also privy to some information for many other jobs that I do. But I will have to say that I love getting press releases from your office. They're clean, clear, concise. And you have a Facebook page. Did the auditor's office before you were there have a Facebook page?
No.
See, okay, so now you know, North Dakota citizens, that you can get all sorts of information about the auditor's office just by looking on Facebook, which you're on way too much already anyway. So let's pop that up on the screen and we'll see what it looked like. You had an announcement that you put on your website, and that shows up so everybody can see what's going on. And I love this idea of calling it a stewardship award. That goes to my Christian church-going heart, because I know what stewardship is. Stewardship is making sure you're using what you're given the right way.
Correct.
It's perfect. It's a perfect name for that.
And being public officials, we are being provided taxpayer resources. And so to make sure that these individuals that we trust with these the money and everything that they're being given, are they doing it properly?
Right.
And are they doing everything they can to try to make sure that they are accountable to the people?
Right.
And so for us, making sure that putting that information in the citizens' hands, one of the things a lot of people thank me for is trying to hold government accountable, and I have to inform them and let them know that's not actually what we do. Our job is to make sure that we provide independent, objective information to the citizens so that the citizens can hold government accountable.
Excellent.
That is why we push so hard for communication. We try to put information out there. My hope is that people would come to our Facebook page, our website, not for information about the auditor's office, but for information about the governments that we all rely on.
Excellent.
Whether it's local governments or state governments.
Now, when you gave this award to Devil's Lake, I bet they were pretty excited about it. What did you have any sort of a ceremony or anything? We can pop up on the screen and show what it looks like. This is the City of Devil's Lake Stewardship Award.
So I would have loved to have done this in person and drive up there and present this to the city at one of their city commission meetings. However, with everything going on, we did it via, I think, a Zoom call or virtual. And we were given an opportunity to explain kind of why and what this was for, and recognize that city auditor for her years of effort trying to get to this point. So it was a lot of fun try to present this, and I think they were at first a little stunned.
Taken aback, right?
Yeah.
So if you have given this initial one, are there more to come?
Well, we, as a teaser, we are looking at one other potential to recognize some contributions, and I'll say that's about as much as we can say right now.
Oh, I love teases like that.
I think it's smart, really smart to do this, because with you at the helm of the auditor's office, we have seen a great deal of transparency, a great deal of accessibility. And like you said, the nature of the job is to, if you will, ferret out the stuff that's concerning. And I mean, that's just the nature of it. And so you do ferret out stuff that's concerning, that gets brought up. And it's good to balance, because before, when it's not quite as public, it doesn't really matter. But when people hear about some of the concerns, it's good for them to hear about some of the very good things, and it's good for people who are doing well, apparently in the face of Heath's audits, to be rewarded. So tell me,
he is thorough. He is very good at what he does.
When agencies hear that Heath is going to be their auditor, do they complain? Do they like, no?
No, the way he handles this, he is very approachable, and he wants to work with people to make sure we are helping to improve government.
Yeah.
And that's his focus, and that's why it's great to be able to work with people like him every day, because he truly approaches his job, and he understands that auditing is it's not an easy task, and it's not always liked. But he goes in with that, that servant's heart and mindset, as he's here to try to help make, these local government entities better.
Can you talk about your office just a little bit and tell me how many folks you oversee? I mean, I know that you have such a widespread purview over so many different things. I can't even imagine how many different things that you have to audit. But talk about your office just a little bit.
So we were recently on a call with the state of Tennessee, and they were talking about the North Dakota Auditor's Office, and they were explaining how they kind of keep track of a lot of things we're doing through the social media. And they use a line, I think my deputy has it written on our board, that says, "North Dakota is small but mighty."
Small but mighty.
Oh, so we are
58
FTEs, full-time employees. We employ interns, and so we're actively always trying to reach out to college students to get them in, to introduce them to the world of auditing. But we're responsible for auditing state government, and there's over 80 agencies.
80 agencies.
State agencies. Some of those are bid out to private firms, like the Bank of North Dakota. We also are responsible for several audits of local government entities, and those are about 45 every year. But there are nearly 1,900 local government entities across the state of North Dakota that we either are required to have an audit, or what's done is a small government review, meaning they submit financial documentation and then we take a look at it and verify that nothing.
That is a tremendous amount of information for 58 people.
It's a
and
lot
even
of,
if you're ferreting things out, that's a tremendous amount of information.
Now we've got like just about a minute left in this segment. So one of the things that I think is confusing is how higher ed fits in with what you do. Can you just kind of explain, because there's so much money that goes to higher ed.
In 1 minute.
In 1 minute.
You know, universities, they're a state agency. So they go through the same audit process as you know, your normal Department of Transportation. They're required to get a 2-year audit. We have a team that conducts those. It can be challenging, especially in the days of FERPA and access to records, but we've good people and they get it done.
Tell our viewers, what is FERPA?
FERPA, oh gosh, that is a federal education. Gosh, of course you would ask me that on camera.
It's the privacy thing.
That's the privacy restrictions on certain student records.
Okay.
And so you can't access some private information on them, and so we have to be mindful of that as we're conducting our audits. If there's FERPA information involved, we have to make sure that if we do access that record, that individual is notified and why we're looking at it.
Gotcha. How would you like to stay on for one more segment?
Sure.
I won't ask you any more about acronyms.
No more acronyms?
Okay.
No.
Okay, we're going to be back with more of Josh Gallion in just a minute. Stick with us.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. At OK Tire, we're here to keep you going. From Firestone tires and replacements to retreads and even Firestone tracks, we have you covered. Our certified Firestone experts are ready to get you back up and running, no matter if you're on site or in the field, saving you time and money. OK Tire, we keep the tough going.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck, your after-hours oasis of sanity, as evidenced by our highly esteemed guest, Josh Gallion, North Dakota State Auditor. I am your host, Rick Becker, our co-host, Lori Hintz.
Thank you.
I'm not sure why I'm sounding like an arena
I don't
announcer
know,
tonight.
it was kind of cool. You have to have a mic come down and start talking. Josh, we were talking last time about FERPA. We figured out what FERPA is, which is super helpful. And then also, you mentioned in the break, while they were not privy to this, you talked about something else that, those 58 people have a lot of stuff to do, but you also do something, and I just got a press release on that just today.
So one of the programs that we operate is the Federal Mineral Royalty Program, and all of the federal lease lands here in North Dakota, we verified that the lease payments going to the federal government are accurate. Now the benefit of looking at that information is we also make sure that the money coming back to the state is accurate for those local municipalities. And so that's a big program for the state, especially over the last 5 to 10 years as the oil boom has happened. And so we just put out that press release that
it says over $230 million in federal royalty payments verified by State Auditor's Office for State and Federal Funding. Is this for recent, or is this lagging a little bit?
So it does lag. I believe this is for the 15 and 16 years. But what they look at is making sure that the companies that are leasing those federal mineral rights are paying the appropriate share of royalty payments. And so there's a team of 5 auditors over there. Doing some great work.
Huge job.
It
$230 million.
Big money.
Big money.
Big money. So let me ask you, though, with all these agencies, I would imagine on a routine basis you have citizens that contact you, maybe legislators. So let me ask you a 2-part question.
Okay.
Which 1 or 2 agencies are you finding that citizens are contacting you most frequently, asking questions or requesting an audit of some sort? Part 2. Same question, but pertaining to legislators contacting you.
Well, I would say probably both of the same agency right now. And I think there's a lot of questions that I get and a lot of concerns that I hear about really, it comes to state lab and health department. And I think that has to do with the current situation.
Gotcha. And are people expressing specific concerns, or they're just sort of saying things are worrisome?
They vary.
Okay.
Some of them are specific. Some people are just, expressing some frustrations, and I understand a lot of those. The difficulty, though, when you think about an audit, is we need a set of criteria, a standard that we can apply to make sure that things are happening properly. One of the things that has come up quite often are the PCR tests. People are challenging the number of cycles on the PCR test, and I've talked to the state lab directly, and I've talked to them and asked them, okay, what determines the number of cycles that they're running? Because again, I hear all this stuff, and they've indicated to me that they're following the manufacturer's recommendation. And some of the complaints,
which isn't a direct answer.
Not necessarily, because again, I hear other people say that there's medical professionals out there that say you should run X number of cycles. From an auditor's perspective, again, we're not all medical people. Which one is right? Which standard do you apply?
Sure.
And that's the challenge, is if you don't have a clear set of criteria, a standard to apply, then is it really independent, objective information that you can rely on?
Yeah.
And so,
I would imagine, in my view, the health department and specifically the state lab is making it much harder on themselves, specifically because of a lack of transparency, a lack of being forthright. So, because I know of people who've called in, I've had extensive communications, which we'll talk about on one of these shows. But there's this unwillingness to just give people what they're looking for, not to give them the answer they're looking for, but to not play games and to simply answer the question. Because when you're not being forthright, what happens is that you naturally are going to have that person is questioning and being skeptical and suspicious, even to say, well, now we need to dig deeper. They're not answering a simple question, and I think that they are deriving a lot of the interest themselves by their own unwillingness to just be helpful. And I don't know, I guess I'm not going to ask you to comment on that, but I do think I can understand why you're getting so many requests, and I think it's in large part to how they handle things themselves.
How about the legislators? What are their main requests?
A lot of them are very similar to that, talking about the tests and questioning things at the lab. And, there's some limitations on what an audit can accomplish. Again, even if we did go in there and conduct an audit, if we started tomorrow, we're still not going to be, done with this thing for months down the road.
Right.
And so when we look at it months down the road, a lot of the issues that we're facing today, the executive orders that people are unhappy with, these can all be ancient history by the time this is released. So really from an audit standpoint, our job is not to go in and investigate. We're not investigators that second guess what's happening right now. The audit should be looked at as a tool, as a resource to go back and potentially evaluate how could we do it better going forward in the future.
So in other words, I'm just going to paraphrase here for laymen like me, you're a long game, not a short-term agency.
Correct. And really, right now, we're trying to create all of these processes. We have been thrust through a tremendous change. And to put the auditors in the middle of that right now is more or less just complicating an issue. And I think anybody, if they look at this thing, they're going to look back and think, okay, we could have done it a little bit better here. We could have tried this a little different here. But when you're in the middle of something and you're trying to address a huge need, public health concern, people are trying to do the best they can. I try to believe that people are trying to do the right thing. But there will be a time and a place for an audit. I would say right now in the middle of what's going on, this may not be the right time.
Well, nothing's really clear-cut either.
No.
I mean, the science isn't even settled. So
I do want to say we appreciate the people bringing information to us. We take all of this information, all of these, we'll call them complaints. We take them all serious, and we do take a look at them, each one. But at this point, I just don't have anything that is.
Well, maybe you can use that down the road, long-term forensically.
Potentially,
right?
Yes. I mean, again, we talked about state agencies and the audit. So we do. The health department is one of our audit clients. And so some of this information, while we may not jump into action right now, we may take a look at this. There might be an opportunity here where we can try to find some operational improvements at the state lab to help them improve the delivery of services for the citizens of North Dakota. So that's really at a point right now, that's where we're at. Now, if something comes up and it's absolutely glaring and it's an issue, then yes, we can look at performance audits and we could try to jump into action. But with the information that I've been given, I think right now we'll focus on looking at it after the fact to see how we can help going forward.
Gotcha. Well, we'll see what happens. Tell me about, because North Dakota doesn't have an inspector general.
No.
How for our viewers, how would your office differ from an inspector general? And is North Dakota missing out by not having?
He's not an investigator. He's not an investigator.
Well, but
I'm just paying attention to what the man is saying. Sorry.
Being more of an IG, that does change the dynamics because an inspector general has the ability to, be that investigator type. I've been so focused on just trying to conduct the audits that I haven't really dug into whether or not North Dakota is missing out.
Yeah.
I like to think that the auditor's office, we're doing a lot of great work within the confines and the statutory responsibilities we have.
It doesn't hurt to not have another
layer
office in the state government that we have to give whatever benefits and payment and more tax dollars and more staff and
I do appreciate the fact that you are so accessible. I think people feel a lot more comfortable calling your office knowing that you're going to probably look into it for them. I mean, I think there's a confidence there that the public is going to have on that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to sing your praises too heavily because only one of us
definitely came on the right
have
show.
a huge ego. But no, I think it's phenomenal. Your approach to government and what you see your role as is phenomenal. It's textbook of the way elected officials should think and behave, and you should be commended, and there should be more like you. I can't say that enough times.
A+.
So I'm saying that for the viewers, not for you.
Yeah.
Don't.
No, I concur. I absolutely agree with you too.
It's absolutely
Thank
true.
you so much for coming on with
thanks
us
for
today.
having me.
We really appreciate it. And when we come back, we're going to do another brain food. So look forward to that.
Howdy, folks. It's the Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our hay-bossing breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the game. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering, it's the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. This segment we call Brain Food because
Well, it's kind of
hibbity.
It's kind of our thing. Our thing is we like to educate people, and we like to raise the bar a little bit rather than lower it. And so we want to give you information about things that you may not know. And sometimes we use big words. Both you and I are kind of bad about that. I don't know, do people make fun of you? I get made fun of other places because of my vocabulary.
Yes.
You too? Mm-hmm. Isn't that weird? Why would people make fun of you for using words that are germane?
I get nerdy on it, and just like you do, my wife does on fun words.
Yep.
But sometimes it's perceived as you're trying to sound smarter than the next person or whatever. I just think it's fun when I learn a new word.
Well, and I do too. And when I learn a new word, I try to make use of it. So, and the trick is making sure that you put it in context and use it correctly. I mean, you could. I've heard some other stuff sometimes, and it's not necessarily always in context. So, all right. So my first word tonight is called sophistry, and it made me think of it because it is a fallacious method of reasoning, and we talk about that on this show a lot. So sophistry is a noun. The plural is sophistries, and it is a subtle, tricky, superficially plausible, and this is the word you need to pay attention to, superficially plausible. So on its face, it looks like it's a plausible, but generally fallacious, which is another word which or false method of reasoning. So false narrative would be sophistry, a false narrative, which is something that we deal with all the time right now in our lives in America and in North Dakota. So sophistry, you can put it into a sentence, and it's a false argument or sophism.
Right. And fallacious.
And fallacious.
Starts with an F.
F. And false. False and looks good on the surface. Dig into it a little bit more, and it's fallacious.
Okay. I elected, when I saw that you went with good vocabulary words, I elected to go elsewhere because 4 vocabulary words is probably too much.
That's true.
So, my first one is Gouverneur Morris. Now, Gouverneur Morris is one of the founding fathers, and I think he's fabulous. I've read a couple of books on him, and he is so quirky and interesting. There are a couple of things that a person needs to know about him. The 2 biggest ones that I recall from the books and so forth is he was this big, boisterous guy, and he had a peg leg. Oh. So he's a one-legged founding father, and he had a peg leg. He initially was burned as a young guy, as an older child, I guess, and recovered from the burns, but he had a horse carriage accident when he was run over by one of the wheels, and so they cut his leg off.
Oh my.
He was also, despite his corpulent, another word for you?
Nice, very
despite
well done.
his corpulent nature and his one leg, he was a ladies' man.
No way.
Yes. He got around the colonies, let me tell you. He also was in Paris. He was one of the diplomats in Paris. And he was having an affair with one of the countesses who was the wife of one of the top guys in Paris. However, that lady was also the mistress to Talleyrand.
Oh, good heavens.
Yes. So Gouverneur Morris and Talleyrand were sharing the same mistress of this other guy. It's important to know because Gouverneur Morris, I'm sure, was doing his diplomacy because Talleyrand is the Frenchman who sold the Louisiana Purchase to Thomas Jefferson.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely interesting. Theodore Roosevelt wrote a biography about him.
About this governor?
Well, his first name is Governor.
That's his name?
Yes, yes.
G-O...
Gouverneur Morris.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
I thought that was his title. That was not even his title.
No,
that
not
was
governor. He spoke the most at the constitutional conventions, which you don't even hear about.
You hear his name.
He is responsible for the 7-letter phrase in the Constitution, "We the people of these United States," something of that nature. And he is responsible for the laying out New York City in its grid. So tons of interesting things.
Very interesting.
Oh, the last thing. This is crazy.
Okay.
So he had gout.
He had gout.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a foot problem.
Well,
usually,
it's a uric acid problem.
Okay.
But maybe that's another brain food item.
Okay,
Anyway,
well,
he had
we got another
gout,
one.
and it forms crystals, and it can form crystals in your bladder.
Right.
He had a urinary tract blockage. He used a whalebone.
Okay, I really don't need to hear any more about that because the visual enough is good. So
Okay, no, but listen, he used a whalebone to try and dig out his urinary tract blockage, caused complications by perforating himself, and died from those complications.
Oh, wow.
I kid you not.
What a way to go. That's
I know.
Awful.
So,
Governor Morris. You'll
Governor
never
Morris.
forget Governor Morris now as long as
Read
you
about
lived.
him.
Thanks for the visual on that. That was lovely. Okay, I'm going to go to another word, and this one is pugnacious. So pugnacious, it's an adjective. If you are pugnacious, you are inclined to quarrel or fight readily. So you're probably one of those people who's apt to just get into a battle, whether it is with your siblings or somebody else. And if you're pugnacious, you're going to quarrelsome, belligerent, combative, the type of people who leave us Facebook posts, that type of person. So if you are pugnacious, you are troublesome, quarrelsome, belligerent, cranky.
I think I know some pugnacious people.
I do too, as a matter of fact.
Do you think that the Pugs, the dog, is that named
Makes
after,
you
or is one
wonder.
after the other? Are they related, do you think?
I've never had a pug. I don't know if they are belligerent or troublesome. Maybe we'll have to have people weigh in probably on Facebook on that one. Say pugs are pugnacious.
Yes.
I don't know. But
Okay.
All right.
My last item on brain food is the Oxford comma.
Oh, I have a very strong opinion on the Oxford comma.
I'm not surprised. So the Oxford comma, you know when you have three things listed in a sentence, you put down a comma behind, certainly behind the first and the second.
For sure.
The question is, do you put it down between the second and the word and for your third one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No question.
Well, that one is called the Oxford comma.
Right.
And so, for instance, I'm going to get to that in a second. So one example is, my goals for 2018 are to learn how to use commas like a champion, comma, to run a half marathon, comma, and to get good at poaching eggs.
Right.
So a person could argue and say, well, you don't need that last comma, because some people are saying that's not necessary. We're going to get rid of the Oxford comma. Now, the example we have up on the screen is why the Oxford comma should continue to be used. My heroes are my parents, comma, Superman and Wonder Woman.
It completely changes if you put a comma right after Superman.
Right. So did you mean that your parents are your heroes and your parents happen to be Superman and Wonder Woman? Or do you have three heroes, your parents being one, Superman being another, and Wonder Woman being the third?
Right.
So flip up to the last graphic here. I was shocked by this.
I was too.
Younger people are using the Oxford comma.
Well, I'm not necessarily younger, but I am a big fan of the Oxford comma, and I'm always correcting things.
Well, but the 18 to 29-year-olds are big on it, which I was shocked at. You and I are probably in favor of it, even though we're in the third category.
Yep.
Probably just because we're sticklers on stuff like that.
Exactly, and nerdy. Yeah, that's probably true.
So I'm, you know what?
But isn't it interesting that the younger you are, the more likely you are to prefer the guy?
It doesn't make sense. It goes against everything I believe about millennials and Gen Zers.
Well, I'm here to tell you they're going to surprise you on a lot of things. I mean, they're surprising me.
This is one I'm happy about being surprised on.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Go Oxford comma.
That's all true. Oxford comma. It's a good thing. I've always used it in any type of writing that I've used. So I do a lot of commercials, and so I put commas in all the time on my scripts. I just do.
All right, so we are going to be back. We've got an interesting segment up next. We're going to talk about vaccine updates. Be with us in a minute here.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey-Boss and Breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather, like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here were terrific. We enjoy it.
They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. At OK Tire, we're here to keep you going. From Firestone tires and replacements to retreads and even Firestone tracks, we have you covered. Our certified Firestone experts are ready to get you back up and running, no matter if you're on site or in the field, saving you time and money. OK Tire. We keep the tough going.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. We are at our last segment already.
It just flies, doesn't it? I mean, I'm finding that the more we do this television show, the faster it seems to be going. And I don't know if that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, it is. I think so.
So our last topic is
vaccines.
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 We're going to talk a little
COVID.
bit. Well, you got a lot of information today if you were watching the...
I watched the governor's presser today. That was a struggle. It always is, but I watched it. I sacrificed for you.
Thank you for taking one for the team. So
I watched the whole thing.
There are a couple of different vaccines, and it seems to me that storage might be a problem for these vaccines. The more I read about it, the more I think it's going to be difficult to keep them viable and okay, because it's a short period of time and they have to stay very, very cold.
Yep. Well, right. There are two vaccines that are out. I mean, Pfizer, the Pfizer vaccine we have now, people are getting it. There's between 800, 900 healthcare workers that already received it in North Dakota. And the Pfizer vaccine is the one that has to be kept at, I forget, is
it's like 956 degrees or something below. It was like, all right, sorry. No, it was minus 158.
Yes.
Yep. Wrong one. So cryo was last show. So got it.
Right.
Okay, you're right. So 158 minus 158.
Right, and it can only be in the fridge for a couple of days.
5 days?
Yep, and if it's out of the fridge, it lasts 6 hours.
Right.
Right. Now, the Moderna vaccine is one that we're going to be getting next week in North Dakota. That one does not need to be nearly as cold. It's good in the fridge for 30 days. So it's much easier to handle, much more likely to be something that can go out to many different types of facilities besides just the ones that have the ultra cold storage. So I think that's going to be beneficial.
There are many in South Dakota, for instance, who may not even have storage availability for minus 156, so minus 158.
So we received 6,825 Pfizer vaccine doses
for North Dakota.
Right, we're getting 13,200 of the Moderna next week, and that's at least what's expected. They're focusing on healthcare workers. Now I have a little bit of heartburn about how they're doing it. Well, first off, I've got heartburn on a lot of things, but I'm going to tell you let me get back to that.
Okay.
I have heartburn over the way this is being rolled out, because when I watched the presser today, I felt I was watching Soviet-era propaganda. The way it's fed to us and repeated over and over and over and over that this is not for you, but by getting the vaccine, you are telling other people how much you care about them. That was repeated endlessly. Now,
so implying the flip side is that if you don't care about people.
If you don't want the vaccine, you don't care about other people.
That's the unspoken implied.
Right. So then that carries me to the other part that is giving me heartburn, is that the healthcare workers, which it makes sense. If you're wanting to do the vaccine and you're a healthcare worker, you're exposed to it a lot. It makes sense that you would be, ahead of people that aren't frontline, don't have. But here's the problem: is that they're ahead of long-term care residents. Those people are being severely adversely affected.
But those people are the ones who are being tested twice a week right now.
Right. The concern I have is when the healthcare workers are doing it and saying, I'm doing this not for me, but for other people. Well, I think if long-term care, elderly, sick, comorbidity people were to receive that vaccine instead of you, they're probably not going to die. So I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm just saying this whole morally superior concept of how this is framed for people to get the vaccine. I just don't agree with it. If you want to get the vaccine, more power to you. It's the same with the flu vaccine. If you want to get that, great. I'm glad that you can have it. If you're subjected, if you're at high risk, then get it. That's fantastic. But it doesn't make you a morally superior human being by virtue of being one of the first people to get the vaccine. That isn't an automatic thing.
Right. Now, you did mention, too, that some people would be interested in getting it, some would not. And I looked at those numbers. In May, it was 2/3 of people were interested in taking it. And then now in September, it's down to half of the people would say that they would get the vaccine, which is really an interesting trend in a very short amount of time.
Yes. There are a couple things I want to bring up from watching today.
Okay.
One is, well, first off, people need to know you need 2 doses of the vaccine.
Right,
we
not
didn't
just
say
one.
that yet, did we?
No, we did not. You
So
have to have
3
2.
weeks apart for Pfizer, 4 weeks apart for Moderna. You need 2 vaccines for it to be effective. Moderna possibly partially effective with 1.
Right.
So you need to know that. Then the question is, how long does it last? The answer is, we're not sure, but at least 2 months. And then the other part, you know what? We're going to bring that up another day.
Yeah, I think so.
Because there's one other part that you've got to hear. It's unbelievable. And that's going to do it for tonight on vaccines.
There's so much. There's just so much. So
Absolutely. So, next.
All right. Next show, we are going to be having a fantastic talk about the 2021 session and its hot topics. We'll talk
Join
about
us then.
that.
And next on Beck is No Filter with Debbie. See us tomorrow night.